Welcome to the Wellness on Tap podcast with your host, Dr. Debs Eastwood.
But today then you've travelled from near Newark in Nottinghamshire.
Yes.
Which takes me back to being a kiddie because my grandparents and my nana's sister lived in New Bolton, which is one of the sort of suburban places outside Newark, isn't it?
It is.
I remember going there quite a lot. Oh, there was another one as well. There was another sister. So, yeah, all three of them lived in that sort of area. One of them near the river and another one in more sort of suburban areas and one in one of the old terraced houses.
Yes.
And I've got memories of my Uncle Charlie digging one of those really long, 100-foot long gardens that they had in those terraced houses.
They did, didn't they? My granddad used to have one of them.
Yeah. Digging his vegetables.
My granddad, it was a council house and the gardens were huge, front and back.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Gave people space.
Yeah.
So I want to just say thank you, Claire, for coming.
My pleasure.
Today. I mean, we only met relatively recently, didn't we?
We did.
At a crazy event.
Very crazy, but fun.
Oh, absolutely amazing. Over in Bolton. So on the other side of the hills for both of us.
Yeah.
The hills being the Peak District, for those that don't know where I'm from. But yeah, crazy event. And it was outside, wasn't it? We were coming back from the meal one night.
Yeah, we were. And we were talking about what we did and just, bonded on that moment, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was just like, this lady's interesting. I like her story. I wonder if she'd like to come up and tell the world about it on the podcast. So we had a few more chats, didn't we?
We did.
Make sure everything was right, and here she is.
Hello. I'm here.
What a long and convoluted, hopefully interesting entrance. So remind me first off of what it is that you actually do now in the holistic field.
So I am an ADHD holistic coach. I am trauma-informed ADHD holistic coach, which I think makes a huge difference because, as we know, trauma can sort of present very similar to ADHD. So I think it's really very the right thing to do. I felt the right thing to do was to be trauma-informed so that I could manage things in the right way. But I do believe also that a lot of people who have had undiagnosed ADHD for a long time will have probably had a significant amount of trauma. I've just completed my advanced ADHD coaching course actually, and I did a practitioner course first, and then I've done the advanced one. And actually, the case studies, I've just handed my case study in today, just before I came. So it's all quite prominent in my head at the moment about kind of the deepness of the effect of ADHD, not just on you, but on the family as well. You know, the whole family dynamic. So yeah, that's what I do, and I work very much with the beliefs that people have created from having undiagnosed ADHD and not understanding that it's the ADHD, that it's not them, and the shame and the guilt and the awful feeling that comes from feeling that you're never good enough. And I work with people on the coaching side, but also I work somatically. So I work very much with EFT and with rapid eye movement release and chakras and stuff like that as well, so that people actually feel the release as well as just, in their head know the release. I think it's really important to work mind, body and soul together.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. A truly holistic approach.
Yes.
So if we go back a little bit, obviously to you who's done a lot of years of studying in this and experiential learning, you said trauma and ADHD can often present similarly. Can you tell us some ways in which trauma would present and some ways in which ADHD would present to those that aren't as informed as you?
It's a really interesting question, and it's a one that's completely always up for debate, I think, in the media and stuff as well at the moment. It seems to be quite heavy at the moment. I think when you've got ADHD, when you've had it all of your life because of the way that you've felt. There's there's not so much difference. It presents very similarly, and that is the difference. But if you do that work and you understand why you do the inner work and you understand where it's come from. So we go back to the inner child and whatever and where it's come from, and we've released that, and there's still symptoms of ADHD. You have ADHD, you don't have trauma. But I personally feel like you really do know when you have got ADHD, because it's not a level playing field.
Okay, so what sort of things might people experience that's different then from a neurotypical person?
Okay.
As opposed to a neurospicy person.
Okay. So with ADHD, and I see this a lot in my family as well, it's not the knowing, it's the doing. So we know, we're not daft, we know what to do, but we just can't put it into place. And it's difficult to explain that. Your mind just, you know your facts, you know what you need to do, but finding the way there is really difficult. And that's a big thing. That's definitely how my ADHD shows up. ADHD will show up differently for everybody. There's similarities, but because it's genetic, it will show up differently for everybody. And even within the family, if it's within the family line, which it's likely to be, it's 80% heritability. So it's more heritability. It's got more heritability than your hair colour. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's very genetic. So that's why I think with people who say about the trauma-informed, is it with the trauma, is it that they've been parented by undiagnosed ADHD, people who didn't know they had ADHD? Of course, you're going to have that kind of younger trauma because your parents, not their fault. There's never any blame. I always think this is really important to say. There's never any blame with this. When I do a lot of inner work with people and they'll go back to their memories and I'll say, oh, I don't want to say this because I had a really nice... It's not about that. It's about how something made you feel. Yeah. Bearing in mind, trauma is just that. It's about how something made you feel. So it's just what if your nervous system can't handle the situation that you're being given and it's too much for your nervous system, that's trauma for you. And trauma can be a big thing, and I always think there should be kind of two definitions of it. But the trauma is that, the big T, as people would call it, and the small T. I kind of don't think that, because I think if you felt that way and something made you feel that way in that moment, who am I to invalidate whether it's big trauma or little trauma?
A big trauma might be something, for instance, like a veteran would experience. Yes. Or somebody that's...
If you had a car crash,
something that's quite graphic,
yes,
and obvious, yes. I guess. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, that's exactly right.
And the little T
is a lot of little things maybe that's happened in your life. So it's just if it's made you feel a certain way. So having a baby is trauma. If something happens in your life where, you didn't expect it, grief is trauma. There's all sorts of little things, but even just the way a teacher looked at you and made you feel a certain way in the class because you were sitting there and you didn't understand why you couldn't understand it, or you didn't understand why you couldn't articulate, or you couldn't understand just anything. It just made you feel a certain way. That would be trauma. And if that carries on, because then our amygdala has recognised that, or subconscious is there now going, oh, I've got to keep this little core inner child, this wound of this inner child safe. It'll be scanning all the time looking for danger, so that, to keep you protected. Our mind and body's always protecting us, even though we don't feel as though it is. Because, we get these protector behaviours that come in that are protecting us from feeling that core emotional wound that we felt at that moment. And so that's what happens when we get these protective behaviours like perfectionism, like people pleasing, like being high achieving, because we feel as though we've got to do this to keep ourselves safe. So what I work with is actually getting to the core root of where that came from, and then we clear it, and then you are safe to move forward. Your subconscious then knows it's safe, your amygdala knows it's safe, and then actually you are safe to move forward. So a lot of people who have had undiagnosed ADHD don't feel safe to be them because of all of the
very
beliefs.
Distressing.
I get a lot of clients who just don't feel safe to be them because of the fact that they don't know who they are. They've got lost in the mix with the masking as well. So they're trying to conform in a neurotypical world with a neurodivergent brain or an ADHD brain. It's just it's very difficult. You're trying to keep up, and you're trying to keep appearances. You're trying to look as though you've got it all together. And that's exhausting.
Yeah.
So the masking can be exhausting.
Yeah.
And people can come in just thinking, I actually don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. Who's the real authentic me? And that's what I'm really passionate about. My passion, my absolute passion, is that everybody should feel safe to be and free to be authentically them, no matter how the brain works or what experiences they've had. The great thing is now we can clear these things. We have neuroplasticity now. We can change things, and that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the awareness of things like neuroplasticity is incredible nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah.
We always thought that that's it. You are who you are. Nothing can happen. What a load of rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can change it now. And so like a lot of clients, that would be the thing. They don't feel enough. They don't feel worthy. They don't feel safe. And it's usually one of the three things that we'll kind of work on. And I think for that, it's, when you do this inner work yourself, the ripple effect that it has on the family is just so huge, because you do change, and people have to change around you. And also understanding, obviously, if because of the hereditary percentage, so 80%, it's very likely if you have ADHD yourself, you will have a child with ADHD, or you'll have been parented by an ADHD. It can swap over. It can kind of miss a generation. It can swap over from auntie and stuff like that. But the likelihood is, it's quite a high likelihood that you have got that. So you'll have been parented by somebody with ADHD who definitely wouldn't have known, because it wouldn't have been a thing then, certainly if you're my age, and then also you're likely to have children, and being able to hold the space because you understand ADHD and you understand how it shows up is so important, because it makes such a difference in the child's nervous system as well. Because if they feel safe to be who they are, authentically them, and we hold the space for that, what greater gift can we give our child?
Absolutely. Because we are all individuals, aren't we? And no one's as good as us at being us.
Yeah.
That was hard for me to say. And so we should be able to celebrate that.
Yeah.
But there's lots of people.
Yeah. And there's just so many nuances with ADHD. It's so many ways it affects our hormones, so our dopamine uptake, our serotonin uptake, noradrenaline, it affects all of that. But at the same time, there's so many paradoxes. So we can hyper-focus, but then we can't focus. We can have lots of energy, but then we can be really, really burnt out quite quickly. So there's that many paradoxes with ADHD as well that people kind of don't see or understand if they don't understand about ADHD. And I get that people who haven't got ADHD don't understand about it. But it can be it's really hard to have ADHD. It's not easy. It's not easy to manage the hard times, but we have got some amazing, strengths. Don't really like the word superpowers, but we have some amazing strengths. I say my strength is that I can thread through from where I can see that the belief has been created, or the core emotional wound has been created. I can quite quickly thread through why people will be feeling why they feel. And then we work on that.
That's a good talent to have. I guess you've studied that a lot and experienced, and
it's my intuition with it as well, which is a strength. It's the energy. We feel energy really strongly. Yeah. So we can't filter what goes out, but we also can't filter what comes in. So it's that kind of, we're very, very aware of what's going on in our environment, even without realising it. If you're in a room, you can be listening to 4 conversations at once when you're in a room.
Wow, that's got to be mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is. It happened on Friday I was at a networking thing, and I could hear everybody's conversation on the tables, and I was like trying to focus in.
Yeah, like stop.
Trying to focus in.
Yeah. Do you know, I don't have a diagnosis of ADHD, and I keep thinking to myself, which I'm sure annoys the hell out of you, I have all of these traits and behaviours, and so it seriously wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of women of our sort of age nowadays that are going and getting diagnosed, aren't they?
Well, that's because when you hit menopause, you can mask it until you hit menopause or perimenopause. Anytime when you are like your estrogen levels are low, so we've got this low dopamine uptake. Estrogen feeds dopamine, so then we have like this double dopamine drop. So when our estrogen drops, so when you do your period or postnatal depression, postpartum, I should say, not postnatal depression, postpartum, or when you are starting to go into your perimenopause and menopause, you get this double dopamine drop. And obviously the dopamine, is the feel-good factor, also with its clarity of brain fog and stuff like that. So a lot of people, when they come into, this is when now people are saying, actually, I can't mask this anymore. Because that was my story. That is my story. My head fell off at that time.
Tell me your story.
So my story was that I had IVF for my children, very quickly followed by 2 very complicated pregnancies, one with a prem baby and 8 weeks early, and then went straight on, even when she was 1, straight in, because I was 36 by that time. So I thought, I've got to they kept telling me my cycle was getting shorter and shorter and shorter every time I went. So I had some frozen embryos, and there was 2 survived the thaw, and Cassie, who's outside, is my little frozen embryo. So my girls
Wonderful.
are, obviously everybody's children are very special to them, but my girls are very, very precious to me. But yeah, at the same time, I hadn't realised that I obviously then got postnatal depression because of all of the drugs and the small amount of time that I had between them. And I also didn't realise I was going through early menopause and had undiagnosed ADHD.
That's a lot going on.
That was a lot. And I literally felt like my head just popped off. Like literally, I lost myself so much, which is all in the book, in the chapter in the book. But it's like, I can't explain how I felt. And this has been my kind of my chapter in the book that I've collaborated in, is from self-doubt to self-love, my ADHD journey home, because it was very much like taking the steps from my head's popped off. I've either got to choose to live with this, or I've got to change the way things are. And so I kind of started different, counselling, CBT, therapies and stuff. And then I started my own coaching journey, doing mindfulness and meditation teacher. And then I went on to do coaching. And then I was like, oh, I understand about all these limiting beliefs that people have, but how do I get to the limiting beliefs? I want to know how I can clear these limiting beliefs. So this is when I kind of got into like working with the subconscious and doing the EFT and doing all the different modalities that I do, which I do quite a few modalities, because I like to have people to have the choice. And there's always different ways that you can go in at things.
You've got more tools in your tool belt.
Exactly that, yeah. And so that was my journey. So then just kind of going on from that, and then just getting stronger and stronger. And then when I got my ADHD diagnosis, it was actually the best thing to ever happen to me.
What prompted you to go and seek that out?
So my daughters, my eldest daughter thought she had ADHD, and she wanted to see if she was tested. At the time, she was looking as though she was quite poorly, and she got tested, and she had autism and ADHD, which actually resulted in her getting anorexia, which was really a painful time. But she's doing amazing, and I'm super, super proud of her. She is the warrior, and I adore her, and I'm so proud of her, as I am of both my girls. And then so she got diagnosed, and I sat through her assessment, and I was like, oh, this is me. This is really me. And I didn't know much about ADHD then. I did it really because I thought it was the way that I could find out if she wasn't well or not. And like literally I was like, really? This is, so I started to look into it a bit more. And then I thought, Cassie definitely, I'm sure Cassie's definitely got it, my youngest one. And then she got tested and she did have it. And my eldest said to me, Mum, you've definitely got it. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I need to look into this. So then I went and I got diagnosed. And yeah, I think when you get diagnosed, it's a really strange feeling. You go through lots of different emotions. And I've actually got a ebook on this, because I think it's really important to understand that you're pleased, because it actually, at first you'll be like elated, or I guess it'll depend on how everybody takes it. But for me, my experience was that I was elated at first, because I thought, oh, yeah, this answers everything. I understand now. It puts the final piece of my jigsaw puzzle into my box. And it's like, it's the unanswered piece of why can't I just do this? Why can't I just tidy the house in a normal way? Why can't I just unload the dishwasher without starting the washing? Why can't I just, all of the little things that just, that used to really annoy my husband and caused so much friction between us, but now, so I understood, and I was like that. Oh, I've like that. At least I understand now why, and it's not just me that's been, like I'm bonkers or something. But so there was that. But then you kind of go through a grieving process of like, if I'd known earlier, how would I have felt? If I'd known earlier, what would I have done differently? If I'd known earlier, how would life have been? We split up for a short time in our marriage because of these things.
Oh, wow.
Because my husband is very tidy, likes a tidy house, and I just was like, I couldn't manage to keep everything the way his brain could, and I just couldn't do it. And so we would have lots of arguments about, why just do it? And I'd be like, I just can't do it. And I just couldn't do it. You know, and this is the thing, you literally can't. So I think having that understanding and that compassion for each other, and us all kind of sitting down then and really having some time to talk about how it's shown up for us, what we want to do when we can't regulate, because that's one of the things is, you know, we can't regulate very well. We can fire up quite quickly and lose our regulation. So it's about, you know, like, actually, if I'm feeling like that, let's have a hand sign that this is how I'm feeling, and we can just walk out from it, and nobody takes it personally.
Yeah, no judgment.
No judgment.
Argument, no.
It just is what it is in our house now. And, you know, of course, that doesn't stop people from feeling a bit like, oh, sometimes, but you can feel that, but you can just allow it and say, right, okay, yeah, I'm feeling like that, but actually it's not her fault, or it's not my fault, or it's not whatever. There's no blame and shame.
Yeah.
You know, which was massive. It was a massive turnaround in our family.
How interesting.
Yeah. So you can go through lots of different things. You can kind of go through anger that it wasn't known before, and, you know, all of the things that's happened in your life that actually people have made you feel a certain way, and actually it wasn't anything that you could have done. You know, so there's a lot of emotions that you can go through.
All those what ifs,
sadness, everything. Yeah.
Interesting.
It really is a journey when you first get diagnosed. And this is why I kind of don't want anybody who's had a diagnosis and then this, you know, is it trauma, is it whatever? It's the way it makes you feel. It's the way it makes you feel. And it's, you know, that's what I'm passionate about, is let's just change the way that it's making you feel.
So getting the diagnosis and the understanding and going through that process of elation and grieving and adjustment, I guess.
Yeah.
How did that result in changes to the way you feel? That really intrigues me.
Yeah, it made me feel free, because I realised that actually it wasn't anything I was doing wrong. You know, the self-blame that we have, the inner critic. With ADHD within women, it's the majority of women will have inattentive. I've got a mixture of both. There's two types, so the hyperactive one, and then there's the inattentive. And the inattentive is where it's all within. Everything's within. So it's the feelings within. So an example would be a boy would go out of an exam and say stupid exam, and a girl would say stupid me. With ADHD, and that's done in a study, the Berkeley study. I'll have to find it to quote it, but it is a study that's been done, and that was what came out of the study. So stupid exam, stupid me. So if you think about if you've had undiagnosed ADHD all of that time, and a lot of people with undiagnosed, I think a lot of people kind of see it as being, or like to be the naughty ones, the jokers in the class, and that often can be, but it can also be the very quiet one who sat concentrating, trying to keep concentrating, wanted to be the good girl, really wanted to do her best. And that, you know, and that's what I resonate with. I resonate with that kind of always having to try and do, I've got to do better, it's got to be better, I've got to be top of the class. And when I wrote the book, it only came out, I could then only see the pattern of actually I got top marks and got top of the class once when I was younger, very young. And then after that, nothing was good enough for me apart from top of the class.
So it was a self-worth thing. It was big for you.
It was that created my worth. And then if I didn't get that, then I wasn't good enough.
Wow.
And that has been exhausting all through my life. Exhausting, I can't tell you.
And you don't exhibit that behaviour.
No.
I'm trying to find the right words, but I don't know them. So please correct me if I'm using the wrong ones.
I don't get offended with words. I'm sorry if people do, but I don't, because I just kind of think everybody's trying their best.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and so now those behaviours, those feelings, you're able to dismiss them, or they're just not there?
I've worked through them. So I've gone back to when I first didn't feel good enough, and I've gone back to lots of times and experiences when I didn't feel good enough. My subconscious brought them up. Your subconscious will only allow you to see what's safe to see. Yeah. So when we're going through this work, if it's not safe for your subconscious to show you yet, it will not. And quite often what happens is it takes a few sessions while we're peeling back the layers of the onion, and then people kind of will start with one thing, and then it'll kind of go into another, and then we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper. But usually it will be around not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling safe. and depending, all of our experiences are different. We are so unique in so many ways. And I just wish people would see that, because you can have twins and people will they will react differently depending on their experiences and what they've had. So it's what you've experienced. It's what something made you feel. It's like some people can go to war and they can have absolutely, one can have trauma and one cannot. And it's just the way that we see things and we feel things that makes us different. Yeah. But what I do know with ADHD is we're very sensitive to that, to the feeling. And we have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which is a huge thing that I work with clients with, which is where we feel rejection so much more tighter and harsher than neurotypical people. So what neurotypical people might think is a joke, we will absolutely take to heart and laugh there, but inside be thinking, oh, that's what she thinks of me. That's what she thinks. That just proves I'm not good enough. That just proves I'm and then we go on the spiral. So it's about catching the spiral for me.
I like that phrase.
Yeah. So my spiral's always to my left. My anxiety is over to my right. So I have my parts of me. Obviously we all have different parts of us, and I work with parts as well. So we all have parts of us that are there for a reason. So I have anxiety, but I realise now, since doing this work, that anxiety shows up to protect me when I'm doing too much. Or when I'm overwhelming myself.
Yeah.
So anxiety shows up. So Christy, she's over here. So I talk to her and I say, thank you, anxiety, for showing up and telling me that. Thank you. Thank you for showing me today that actually I am put far too much on my to-do list. I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to be too many things to too many people. Thank you, anxiety, for showing me that. And then I change how I'm going to approach the day.
Wonderful. So you're able to catch the spiral and stop what would be a really negative potential outcome for that day, and say, no, I need to change that. I need to adjust that.
Yeah, I can catch it now.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's like at one time it's spiral. And then it would be like, the day, the week, the month, whatever I was feeling. And the thoughts, the rumination, that's another thing. We ruminate a lot with our brains, with ADHD. We have a negativity bias completely, where we remember, everybody has a negativity bias, but it's very strong in the ADHD brain, because our default mode network doesn't turn off when it should do. So it carries on in with that. So default mode network is when we're kind of daydreaming, we go into that lovely little zone, but we should actually then go back into our task positive network, which if we need to do something. But with ADHD, we're staying this. But in this can also be where we can really ruminate and have the negative reflection about ourselves. So this is why, we really, really hold that in, and we take it in and we take it on. And that's when our body starts to then get pain, chronic pain, all these things that show up. So for me, chronic pain was a huge one.
And has that resolved to any degree?
Yeah, it has actually. It's not anywhere near as bad as what it is. I'm still working on my nervous system and working on what is there. I kind of think I'm right down to the final layer now, but obviously things still keep popping up. But I just take everything head on. Because I know if I do this, it might be uncomfortable for a few minutes for me, but actually then I'm releasing something.
Yeah.
And people often say, when they've done a session with me, I literally feel like 10 stone lighter. Because it's just the weight, it's lifted. Yeah. If you think about your trauma backpack and you're putting more and more in it and it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And actually that has to, at some point, implode.
Absolutely.
So it's about being kind to yourself. And I just find that, is it frustrating not the word? Frustrating isn't the word. I do get it. But that people don't invest in their mind. Like they'll invest in clothes and in go and getting the hair done and all of these things, and they don't invest in their mind, because it's life-changing for everyone, not just you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, liberation is almost a word that popped in there.
Absolutely. You can set yourself free. Literally, I have set myself free.
That's remarkable. What a thing to be able to say.
Yeah.
And now you're helping others.
Yeah. Because once you understand and once you can see it's not your fault that all these things happened, that releases so much just on itself.
Yeah.
You know, so when I do my coaching, I don't kind of go, oh, if you've got ADHD, you get this and this and this. We kind of talk, and then I'll say, well, do you realise that would be an ADHD symptom? And they'll be like, no. Yeah, that's not your fault that happened.
Mm.
You know, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, you know.
Absolutely.
And because we take it on, and especially at a young age, we take on, our brain doesn't filter until we're 7. So at 7, we just take on what people tell us to be true. So if we've had a feeling up till 7 that we were made to feel it was true, is true, literally, we'll take it on. And that's that's when our core emotional wounds all build up, because we just take it on. That's the truth. And then because we've done that, how we see our world and how we perceive our world is so different, because our body and mind are working for us to keep us safe.
Yeah.
But in that, it feels like our body and mind are like doing everything they can to sabotage us.
Yeah, I think for me, some of that comes from the fact that we are now in the 21st century.
Yeah.
You know, our primitive brain is just that.
Yeah.
And it perceives different things as being threats to us, and therefore responds in a way that in the 21st century isn't appropriate.
Yes. Yeah. And certainly, like, I work with the nervous system a lot, and certainly sort of your dorsal vagal and you know, into your fight or flight, they're all primitive responses. We can't help it. So what we've got to do is we've got to make sure that it's the perceived danger of the perceived danger of our brain in this century that we're seeing. You know what I mean? But actually what we've got to do is make our brain feel safe.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah. Which is the joy of the emergence of neuroplasticity as being a thing, isn't it?
Massively. Massively. Because it's just all what we were told, beliefs that we were even told, you know, in our younger day. You know, my quote always is like, you know, would you eat Sunday dinner for breakfast? And everybody goes, oh, no. And I go, why? Just because you've been told you can't.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's just a belief. We can't eat Sunday dinner for breakfast. It's what we've been told over years of time. We can't have a Sunday dinner for breakfast. You have a Sunday dinner at dinner.
Yeah, because that's what it is. It's dinner.
Yeah, exactly. But who says?
Yeah.
You know?
One of the laws of society.
Exactly that. Yeah. And so it's just, so all of the things when it all, you know, kind of when you look into it all and you really do this inner work, it just all starts to make sense. Mm. And as I say, no judgment on anyone. I think my children would have things, I'm sure, come up from how I've parented. Do you know what I mean? It's no judgment on anybody at all. It is just literally how it made you feel in that time. And that's what I want to work on. I want to work on how you felt at that time. Yeah. And we'll change that.
Yeah, and change it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. You mentioned a book earlier.
I did.
You've got a chapter in a book.
I have. I've got a chapter in this book. She reclaims, she rises and she empowers, which is and I've also got my lovely earrings in today as well, which have got the chapter of the book.
Miniatures.
Miniature of the book. There.
Gorgeous. That's investment in what you're doing. I love it.
We love it. So 10 amazing women who have written chapters of their stories, like their stories, what I've just told you, mine there, where you kind of, you know, how you felt in a bad place and you've come through and you've worked through it and you now are in a so much better place. And really we want to get this out to as many people as we can, because we want to get it into the hands of the people who need it. We're really, really passionate about that, because, you know, just really like somebody reading your chapter and realising that they're not alone, they're not on their own, is like exactly why all of us have done the book, because we've all been on that journey.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So did you not say earlier that it's not actually out yet? So
no, it's not out
my hands
now,
on
but it's out this
preview.
week. It's out this week. It's out on Wednesday, the 7th of May. And you can get it on Kindle, and you don't have to have a Kindle. I want to make sure everybody knows that you don't have to have a Kindle to get a Kindle book. You can just download the app on the phone, and it's also going to be available as a book on Amazon. And we are going to have separate links as well. So yeah, we're going to have that, and that'll be on the 7th of May. So we're really, really excited for it hitting the shops, the stores, the Amazon. And obviously we're really passionate about the more that you get, the more sales you get in Amazon, the more categories you get put into, the more people will be able to find it to help them. So that's what we're really passionate about.
And it's all about helping people at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is. And the launch of the book, all of the proceeds are going to charity to help a girl who's got liver cancer, who's I think she's 9, and she needs extra treatment to what she can get on the NHS. So all of the proceeds for the launch are going to towards that.
That's a double whammy good cause then, isn't it?
Absolutely.
How did you find it writing that chapter? Was it therapeutic for you?
Yeah, it was actually. It was so therapeutic. And I've been, and it's really weird because actually this weekend, because I just got the copy of my book myself, I actually hadn't shared my chapter with anyone apart from the people in the book. And I was really nervous when it came, actually. And my daughter was there, and she's been struggling a little bit with a lot of ADHD symptoms and the overwhelm, and how real it really is. And she said, "Oh, can I read it?" And she read it, and she was like, "Oh, Mum, it's so good." And so I had a little cry.
Of course,
I did have a little cry. And then I give it to my husband the next day, and he sat and read it, and he was crying. And I think, I sent it to my daughter in London so she could have a read, because I want them to see it before it came out.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're involved in it. And she's also super proud as well. So it's, and my mum, who's 87, is like beyond proud, which is the best thing in the world.
Has your mum got ADHD symptoms?
Yes.
Okay. I wouldn't have known to ask that before this conversation.
Yeah.
And your dad.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I would say my dad definitely had it.
Yeah.
So now looking back, and yeah, definitely, my mum can't keep still. She's got a very busy brain. She's amazing. She's 87, amazing, and I adore her. She's lovely.
A feisty lady.
Yeah, she's feisty, but she's just very strong, my mum. Very strong. Yeah, she's an amazing. She's always been my best friend, and she always will be.
That's wonderful.
She's amazing.
My mum was my best friend as well. Yeah.
It's precious.
Yeah. Very much so.
It's
very
really
much
precious.
So. And I hope that my kids, will feel the same way.
Yeah, me too. And that's really important for me, is that, we have this open relationship where people feel safe to be them. It is hard, and it's definitely, it's hard for both of them. Cassie, with the uni work, the intensity of it all, it's hard. It's not a level playing field.
No.
And I feel, people don't understand and I do feel like it feels hard for her, because I don't think people do understand. And I think that is really hard.
Yeah.
But we understand, and we know how hard she's trying, and she's absolutely doing her best. But it feels like sometimes she's just knocking on wood, I think, sometimes for her.
It's interesting. You've made me think back to something that I haven't thought about for a long time now. In that about sort of 20, maybe even 25 years ago, when I was working as an associate lecturer at the university in Sheffield, the department I was in made me their disability lead.
Okay.
To help out. Certainly I wasn't aware of ADHD then, and that's relatively recently, isn't it? I just remember helping people with the very obvious physical disabilities.
Yeah.
But also being confronted with a young man who had really profound dyslexia.
Yeah.
And learning from him about the supports that he was able to have put in place.
Yeah.
Do you know what the most intimidating thing for me was? He said that he needed to be able to record the lectures, which I was fine with, but I turned around to him and I said, does that mean I'm going to have to not swear then and be a bit more careful about what I'm saying? So that was the biggest challenge for me.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot from that, and I kind of wish that ADHD had been spoken about more then, so that I could have been much more enlightened.
I know, and it is like, it's almost like your prefrontal cortex just goes offline. Your rational part of your brain just goes offline, and you can't literally think. You're just offline. You can't think. So she's sitting down, bless her, to try and do an essay, and then it's just not. She's got all of the prep there, but she just can't pull it together. Yeah. And it's just, it's just really hard. And I do, if anything, want people to understand that does happen, and it is hard. When she did her A-level, she had to have propranolol to go in.
Bless her.
And it's probably going to be the same this time again.
Yeah.
It's, because they get so overwhelmed, so anxious. everybody will be different because everybody's ADHD is different, but definitely for us, that's our I've always suffered with anxiety, but you think, oh, they're just like me. The perfectionists just like me. That, they're anxious just like me. You kind of think that, and then until you realise, well, they're just like me because they've got ADHD just like me.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
There's
and
an
then
even
it makes
more tangible
sense.
reason.
Yeah, it makes sense then. So then you can see things, and obviously I can remember the feelings the way I felt. I can remember, in exams. I can remember. I mean, I didn't do a degree for that reason. Because I just thought, I can't put myself through it anymore. I've done my best. I can't put this pressure on myself again. You know?
So how would somebody go about approaching if they thought that they had ADHD or they thought that their kids had ADHD? How does somebody go about getting a diagnosis?
Yeah, unfortunately that's the difficult thing at the minute.
Right.
There is such a big waiting list, and so it is really difficult. But there is a test that you can do that will give you an indication, which I have available, and go to your doctor and just see to get some understanding of it, because the thing I'd say to you do most of all is understand it, and especially in girls, because it's so internal. And so, people think, oh, well, she hasn't got it because she's not noisy, she's not loud, she just comes in and she has an absolute temper tantrum when she walks through the door. That's probably a sign of ADHD, because actually what she's done is she's had to mask all day at school. She's had to keep it all in at school when she's trying to be perfect, the good girl, and do all of that. And then actually when she comes home, what she needs is that safe space where she can just release, Yeah.
How interesting. And so does it fall under at the mental health services department in the NHS?
You have to be diagnosed by a psychiatrist. You have to. And that's why the waiting lists are so big, because obviously people are saying, oh well, everybody's got ADHD now. Well, no, it's because actually until the 1980s it wasn't even recognised in women. So all of a sudden, of course, everybody's coming forward with I feel these symptoms. I've felt them all my life, but it's so it's not the case that everybody has ADHD now. It's just that there's just so much more awareness of it now. Yeah. Of it coming through, and actually what's happening is as more people are becoming aware of ADHD, what's happening quite a lot now is that people are being recognising that they've got ADHD, which is a mixture of autism and ADHD, which is what my daughter's got. And that can be really conflicting, because you've got this strictness of autism and everything wanting to be in its order, and then the woolliness of ADHD, where you can't. So that can be quite hard to manage.
Yeah, I'm sure it can. Yeah, because that's, again, a separate issue. Yeah. A separate diagnosis.
Yeah. Sometimes if you're with the right consultant, they'll pick up on them. Pick up on
the fact that it's both.
Yeah. So like with my daughter, she went with the ADHD, but they said her primary thing is autism with ADHD.
Interesting.
Yeah. But when you understand yourself, when you know that and you understand yourself, that's just what it's about for me. It's not about a label. It's I think it's completely up to people whether they get diagnosed, whether they don't want to be diagnosed, whether they think it's whatever it is. It's the way it makes you feel, isn't it?
Yes.
For me, I want to live my best life. I want to be happy. I'm 57. I want to have my best life now. I've done my run of not knowing who I was, and now I know who I am, and I just want to live my best life.
How wonderful. And the fact that is the gift that you want to give to others who are struggling.
Yeah, I absolutely do. Yeah. And also for them to give them to their children.
Yeah.
For them to understand themselves so they can help support their children. Because, whenever they say about therapy, don't they say deal with the parent first, because the parent needs to regulate. You need to be able to regulate yourself to be able to deal with what's coming. And believe me, you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's so important to do that inner work and just clear it all and understand yourself and really have that clear understanding of yourself and how you can work with your nervous system to be able to make the changes and just the whole thing. So I've got a thing at the minute where I'm just launching a program with it's ADHD, trauma and the nervous system, because I think they're all interlinked.
They're all interlinked, yeah. Very much so.
And it's about understanding like why your brain's doing that, why, because you've got ADHD, but then also because of the emotional core wounds that's been created. the stuff that's protecting you,
Yeah.
we can clear that.
That's
and it's holding so many
fascinating.
people back in their business and in their lives because, I can't show up because I'm frightened of showing up. I don't like being, or fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of success. Fear of success is a huge one.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel worthy of the success.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the core of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
What holds a lot of people back.
Yeah.
And until you start out in business and striving for success, or a specialism that requires success of you, say, an athlete or something like that, then you don't think about the fear of success. It's just like, yes, I want to be successful. Go, go, go.
Yeah.
But it's not like that, is it?
No, it's not. So the work I do, the energy clearing and stuff, that's all works on things like that, which is like just key in your business. It really is. And we with ADHD, we do have huge strengths. We are very entrepreneurial. We're very creative. We're very, intuitive. We've got some amazing, amazing strengths. Yeah. So let them shine. Let's get rid of beep. And I don't know if I can swear or not.
The BS.
But let's get rid of all of that and let's shine and be authentically us.
I think that's wonderful. We should all shine, shouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. We should all be free to shine.
Can you imagine how much more cheerful the world would be?
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. I've got goose pimples.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we should, because it's an incredible goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something to strive for.
Yeah. And it's doable. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It is doable.
Yeah.
You've just got to spend the time to take the time and invest in yourself and get rid of it all.
Wonderful.
And understand yourself.
Yeah. So when this comes together, you've got to let me know.
It's together. I'll let you know.
Do. Yes, I need to know. I will need all the details, and I want to see that book at the top of the charts.
I know. So do we. So do we. So do we. Yes, please, please, please buy. She reclaims, she rises, she empowers.
And this beautiful little girl getting the help that she needs out of the proceeds of it as well.
Absolutely. It's just,
What a wonderful, benevolent gesture. I think that is.
Well, we all felt really passionate about that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really grateful you've travelled up here today to see me. It's been a delight.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll make sure that people have got the ways to get in touch with you.
Amazing.
So that we can help you move forward.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, definitely. Because this program that I've done is amazing because you can have one-to-ones and we can have group sessions. So it means that it's like I'm doing it like a hybrid because there's so much I can give and there's so much I can offer. But when I'm doing one-to-ones and we're working on the deeper stuff, it's not always possible to do the other stuff. Yeah. So this is a hybrid, so I can do all of the other stuff. We can do some of the energy clearing in groups and then we can have one-to-ones. So it's the best of everything.
Oh, wonderful. And is that online as well as face-to-face?
Yeah, online, online.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where people are
geographically. Doesn't matter where they are. Absolutely not.
Bonus.
Absolutely not.
Bonus. Thank you for bringing this to the world.
Oh, thank you for having me to share it to the world.
We'll chat again soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will, darling.
Thank you.
Thank you.